Ross Shane is an accomplished visual effects industry veteran and the Chief Product Officer of Mocha with Boris FX. In 2013, something I had forgotten, Ross was recognized by the Academy of Motion Pictures with a Science and Engineering Academy Award for his and his team's work on the design of Mocha Pro planar tracking software. And Mocha's tools have recently been used in Green Book, which won Best Picture, and First Man, which won Best Visual Effects. Hello, Ross. Welcome back.
Hey, Larry. Thanks for having me.
To get us started, how would you describe Mocha?
Mocha is a motion tracking software that we have been developing for, over 15 years. We use the software to analyze the movement of pixels. Mocha has a very, very powerful tracking engine that could be used to track graphics to the video, could be used to remove objects, to stabilize objects. It's used for lots of core foundations in visual effects and post.
Well, I've heard the term planar tracker, and from you especially, but what makes a planar tracker different from just simply setting a few tracking points?
Basically, tracking is based on analyzing pixels. And a standard point tracker is going to only be looking at a very small area of pixels. And when those pixels go out of focus, or if the light changes, or if they're in motion blur, or if someone's hand, swipes across of that area, that will break a point tracker. Whereas the planar tracker is kind of using a user-defined area to track pixel patterns as opposed to just individual pixels. What this means is that we can track things that go out of focus or track things that are very, very difficult to track. And from our perspective as a team, we've always just looked to make the process simplified so that an editor or just a beginning artist could solve some pretty difficult tasks.
Give me some examples, and we'll allow you to brag. How was Mocha used in, say, Green Book or First Man?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about Green Book specifically because we actually featured Victor DiMachina, who is the visual effects supervisor, on our website recently. We interviewed him. And this is actually very cool because the main actor who won Best Supporting Actor this year, his character is a virtuoso piano player. So they actually used Mocha and some visual effects ingenuity to replace the actor's head onto a stunt piano playing double. What they did in Green Book was really, really interesting. There's lots and lots of scenes where you see the main actor, tearing it up, playing this great piano playing. Some of these kinds of ideas do take some foresight, and visual effects supervisors, that's their job, is to think about how visual effects are planned. So Victor was on set with the director, and basically they planned out all the shots where the actor would be playing piano. They brought in a stunt player who's like a virtuoso player who had the same build as the actor, and they would dress him up in the actor's, whether it's a tuxedo or whatever his, he's wearing that particular scene. And they also would calculate the distance between the actor and the camera, and make sure that the lighting was exactly the right way. And then they would shoot the actor himself just from the head up on a green screen. And what happens is they end up using Mocha to stabilize both shots. So then you have two stabilized shots. You're going to marry them together using keying and rotoscoping or masking. And then you're going to basically match the movement so that the head from the green screen shot will be married to the body of the stunt double. They did many, many shots using this technique in Green Book, but that's sort of like an example of how in depth that Mocha could be used.
You mentioned one thing that I want to follow up on. You said that one of the reasons the visual effects supervisor was on set is to plan the effect. Many times we view effects as being something we do after all the shooting is done. What do you recommend for planning visual effects?
That's a great question, and I think that a lot of people hear the term fix it in post, and they might get to an edit session, and then the producer and the editor look at each other and say, "Oh, we'll fix it in post," and we'll send that shot to a specialist. And that's all well and good, but actually planning productions is a huge part of visual effects. There are specialists like visual effects supervisors that are paid to go on set, work with directors. But this kind of idea does not have to be just high-end productions. With some thought into how you shoot, how things are lit, definitely kind of understanding the relationship and the distance between the camera and your object, very important. But also thinking about areas that could be motion tracked. So if you're shooting something on a green screen, it can be very useful to add markers to the green screen. But definitely thinking about these kind of things is a real important part of the visual effects process.
One of the things that I'm excited about is NAB, which is our annual trade show, comes up next month, and everything seems to change at that show. What are you looking at in terms of technology trends? I'm not interested specifically in product announcements, but technology trends that you're expecting at NAB.
The things that I'm interested in seeing this year are volumetric capturing. What is volumetric capture? Just think of it as holograms. As the industry is, pushes into the VR and the AR space, we're seeing a lot of interest in that hologram aspect, a full 3D capture of performances. And I definitely think that volumetric capture is going to be a buzz at NAB. On the software side, there's been a lot of talk about AI tools and machine learning assisting post-production. So I think you'll also see that will be a buzz as well.
How can you see machine learning help with effects?
The largest portion of effects really is like isolating objects, tracking, cleaning up. Sometimes it's resizing. Sometimes it's replacing objects and these kinds of things. And I think what you're seeing, even the Adobe Sensei kind of stuff, we're beginning to see a lot of commercial software developers incorporating AI techniques to assist with repetitive processes. And the idea is that large data sets of video clips, extremely large sets, can actually help an AI or machine learning application understand a lot more about the footage, and will eventually be able to be incorporated to help automate some of the tasks that an editor or a visual effects or motion designer does every day. So lots of exciting things.
Thinking about exciting news, you guys have already made some exciting news. Late last year, you announced new versions of Sapphire and Mocha and Continuum. What's in the new products?
So Sapphire is sort of like the flagship plugin package for visual effects artists, motion graphics creators. Boris FX acquired GenArts. At this point, I think it was 2.5 years ago. Sapphire has some nice new features. Lens flares has been sort of the bread and butter of Sapphire, very, very popular. You see it in all the J.J. Abrams Star Wars type of films. The lens flare designer has been totally revamped. There's also some new creative effects to do sort of like a pixel sorting, sort of a very kind of current look to it's like sort of the modern version of digital damage kind of thing. On the Continuum side, again, another plugin package that we make that is very popular within the Avid and the Premiere communities for editing. We've added a new product. Well, it's actually a revive of an old product called Particle Illusion, which is a real-time particle generation system that's now included in Boris Continuum. And this is very like realistic smoke and fires and sparkles that an editor or a motion graphics artist can add to a scene, but they don't. It's very, very easy to learn, and I think that's the heart of Particle Illusion, is that you can just drop on an effect and adding some realism without ever going into a 3D application. So that's a really cool thing. And then on the Mocha side, we've just kind of continued to improve Mocha for tracking, for object removal, for 360 VR, for the 360 creators. We've improved the rotoscoping tools in Mocha as well. Lots of announcements came out in the late fall for Boris FX, and we'll be showing those all at NAB.